Fine.
How's it going?
Good evening.
Oh. You thought it was right. Remember we talked about.
She said it just.
You know what that thing is, it doesn't surprise me.
Well, they talked about putting them up.
Are you ready? Okay. Welcome to Public Service Committee meeting here at Robert Jones Municipal Building, Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. It's a little after 6. Roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Sherry Pickering.
Here.
Alderman Tricia Teague.
Present.
Eve Ludwig.
Present.
Jaleel Jones. Doug Arns.
Here.
John Cooper.
Here.
Chairman Rick Streebing.
Here.
6 present.
Present, thank you. Puts us to approval of the minutes for 4/22 of 25. I would entertain a motion, dispense with the reading, and move for its approval. I will need a second.
Second.
Is there any questions on the minutes for 4/22 of 25? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. In front of us, we have an agenda for this evening. I would entertain a motion to dispense with the reading and move for its approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on the agenda? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Puts us to audience comments.
Did anyone wish to speak this evening? Okay, thank you.
I have no comments. This puts us to item number 6, approval of payrolls for 5/23 of 25. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on the payrolls? Not, roll call, please.
Alderman Cooper,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Jones, Arns,
Abstain?
Streebing,
Yes.
5 yes.
5 yes, thank you. Puts us to the approval of vouchers payable. We have a special run for 5/22 of 25 and a regular run for 5/27 of 25. Make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on the vouchers payables for the special run or the regular run? Yes, Ms. Teague.
My questions were about, I noticed that there were vouchers paid for plans for the riverfront and also plans for City Hall. And, I don't know if anyone can answer this because the mayor's not here. I was wondering when we might actually see those plans. Okay, well, I guess I'll ask next week.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, roll call on vouchers payables.
Vice Chairman Pickering,
Yes.
Alderman Teague,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Jones, Arns,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes, thank you. Puts us to item number 8, City Clerk's report. Ms. Lisa Munson, City Clerk, her items of information.
Thank you, Chairman. Just wanted to report we're working on our annual liquor licenses. Those expire the end of June. We have 62 current liquor licensees, and that doesn't include the riders that they have with their regular liquor license. We're also working on records management, and we've had 33 FOIA requests so far this month. So we've been keeping busy.
Oh, I reckon 33. Any questions for Ms. Munson? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Community Relations, Rihanna Oles, Administrator, her items of information, her monthly report.
Good evening. The only two things I have is just a reminder for the summer luau. It's on June 6th. The tickets are $15. And the support and the funds for that all go towards supporting next year's First Friday. So we'd love to see our aldermen there. Last year we had quite a few of you, so that was really nice to see all of you there. And then the second thing is our comprehensive plan. Just a reminder, take the survey, share the survey as much as you can, in person, online, do all of the things. That's all.
Any questions for Rihanna? Okay, thank you. Puts us to Finance. Melissa Sweeten, Comptroller, her items of information, and then we'll go fiscal year 2024, 2025 cash flow and budget performance report and personnel monthly report. Ms. Sweeten?
The reports are there if you have any questions. I did want to call out a couple of things. I emailed everybody last week that we are officially off the stop pay list for the state of Illinois, and funds have been released, or we're in the process of working with the various agencies that were withholding funds to get those released. Also, today we officially submitted our GATA cipher for the fiscal year of 2024, and we have officially started the 2025 audit. So we're back on track.
The mess that we had is all cleaned up, so. Any questions for Ms. Sweeten? Yes, Doug?
On the cash flow report, it did not show the, the home host agreement money that's coming in.
So the host community agreement, that money was actually, it was budgeted to come into the general fund, but actually it was for City Hall. So when it came in, a new fund in the meantime had been created for City Hall. So it's actually was given to Fund 123 instead of to general fund.
Okay, so is that an annual?
No, it was a one-time.
A one-time?
Yeah,
So that was the $1 million for buildings
correct.
that was referenced?
Yes.
And so the host community agreement, that's not an ongoing?
There is a separate host community agreement that goes to, gets split out between the fire and police departments, but that isn't shown in that line.
Okay. And that's showing as about 425 next year for projected,
For the
host community.
host community would be 50,000 for each agency.
Okay, I was looking at the, on the budget, the casino tax host community agreement. It's 425,
I'll have to look into that.
25, 26.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it.
Okay.
Get back to you.
And then the other question I had is, just thinking back, and I'm not sure about the times, but the general fund used to need to grow close to $1 million a year in order to stay up with costs, increasing costs. Is there such a number these days, and is that still the number, or?
I'm not sure exactly what that number is. We did increase the reserve for the general fund from the 1.2 million to 3 million this year. So we have absolutely increased the reserve on what we keep on hand. Also, the amount we're allocating out to the 107 and those have reduced because of the need to keep money in the general fund.
Okay. I've got some other questions, but I'll follow up.
Okay,
with you on that.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Wheaton? Thank you.
Thank you.
Push to item number 11, the fire, and the chief's not here this evening. But 11A, we have an ordinance amending Chapter 92.01, Fire Prevention, and Chapter 92.02, the International Fire Code of the City Fire Code. And then we'll go into items of information and monthly status report. But I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
No, I don't. Any questions on 11A's ordinance?
Just a summary of what's changing. Sure. I just read through it, looked through it.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Chief Mark Goss on vacation, so I'm Tim McFadden. I'm the fire inspector for the city, so he asked me to fill in for him tonight and answer any questions about the ordinance. So basically, fire codes are updated about every 3 years. Currently, the city is in the 2018 code, which I think that was adopted about 5 years ago. So some discussion amongst everybody for the benefit of not only to update the codes in the city to make everything a little bit safer. Also, it'll help us as far as grants go, being in current code. Also help our insurance rates as far as the ISO rating, hopefully. So there's not a lot of changes from the current code to the new code that we're going to be in. A lot of it is just administrative changes in terminology. There are some changes as far as catching up with technology. As you can imagine, there's been a lot of technological advances since the 2018 code. Mainly that's going to be seen in your solar ordinances, your solar farms. There's quite a bit of new codes pertaining to solar panels, solar farm construction, that type of thing. Also, it'll help bring us into alignment with the building code as well as the electrical codes, fire codes and building codes, electrical codes. We kind of all work together. So having us all within the same area of code will also be helpful to keep us all on the same page. Like I said, mostly there's a lot of different terminology that they change. There's some reorganization that goes on, but not a lot of big differences. As far as existing businesses right now, they won't see any change. They'll still, basically businesses, when they open, they are compliant under the code that was in effect at the time of their opening. So anybody right now will remain in compliance under the 2018 code. Where you see this change with the new code is if somebody comes in to build a new business. Then they will be subject to the new code. Also, if somebody does major renovation of their property, which is like more than 50% of it, then they'll have to be brought up to current code in the 24 code. Also, if there's a change of use, if somebody has just a regular business and they want to open it and change it to a bar, the change of use, that would go from a business to an assembly, basically. So then that would trigger also to bring that business up to code, the current code. But day-to-day, businesses won't see any change as far as this goes under the existing businesses.
Any other questions?
Just in follow-up, so there aren't any additional types of businesses or structures that would require fire sprinkling?
No, none that are current. Nothing current will have to upgrade. So they did.
But they haven't added more businesses that need to sprinkle under new construction either.
There was a few changes of square footage of some businesses that may require it going forward. But once again, that would just be new businesses coming in or major renovation, major remodeling. So yeah, anybody who's in compliance now will remain in compliance until they change use or they do a major renovation project.
Any other questions? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman Teague,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Arns,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
7 yes.
7 yes, thank you. You have any items of information for us?
Sure, I've got the chief's report with me. I had one condition: if I was going to come, I was going to have to bring some good news, and he delivered on that for sure. So the good news is we just finished up our fiscal year of last year, and he wanted me to pass along to you that we were $167,000 under budget for our overtime costs. So thanks to the actions of this council and of our mayor in keeping us well-staffed, we came in well under budget on our overtime costs. So that was the good news he wanted me to share right off the bat. Going along with that, we did hire several new folks within the last month or so. We had one who started shift yesterday. He was hired on. He already had the Fire Academy training before we hired him. He had all the training, so he had about 2 weeks of in-service, and then he went straight to shift yesterday. So yeah, he's already counting and contributing. We have 2 probationary firefighters who are currently in the Firefighter Academy in up north. I can't think of the name right now, but they are up north in the academy right now. So they'll be there for, I believe it's 8 or 9 weeks. They just completed their first week, and by all accounts, they're doing very well. We also had one, sadly, that we hired that didn't work out. He got in, got a couple weeks, figured out, hey, this isn't for me. So he's moved on. So we may be looking to replace him in the future. We had one retirement. Lieutenant Jason Hotzapiller retired after 20 years of service to our department. And so we want to thank him for his service. That triggered the promotion of Eric High. He replaced Lieutenant Hotzapiller at the rank of lieutenant. Also, you probably hopefully you noticed we've been very busy with training the last, ever since Chief Marcotte has taken over. There's a real point of emphasis and of he's real passionate about training and education, and he's empowered Captain Allison, our training captain, to kind of implement his plan. So we've had a lot of training going on, not only for our department, but also for other departments around the state and also the county. So we've had several people in here putting on different classes. We did a live burn event down in South Danville. That went real well. We had Champaign come in and Urbana and some other departments come in and participated in that. Other than that, we're still working on some new software implementation that we're going to help our dispatch as well as our inspection program. So that's still ongoing. We have several drills lined up with some industries. Got some new vehicles to replace some very old vehicles, so we're excited about that. So, yeah, we got a lot of good things going on at the fire department right now, and thanks to you folks and the mayor and everybody else. So,
I'm glad to hear about the 167,000. That's
Great.
That's great compared to what it was. Believe me.
yes, sir.
His monthly status report. Anybody got any questions on anything from the fire department? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Puts us to item number 12, Information Technology. Agno De Silva, Chief Technological Officer. Items of information in his monthly report. Agno?
Thank you, Chairman. You should have all received the monthly status report. Are there any questions on the report?
Any questions for Agno?
So just a couple of updates. The first one is we're working with finance and CLA for the audit for this 2025 and completed our IT systems controls part of it. That went well. And then just want to remind everybody that I've sent out an email regarding this. There's a new threat out there that an appointment shows up in your Outlook out of nowhere and in Teams, and that's a direct threat. So it's bypassing all our security filters. We have reached out to our security vendor. They're working to develop a temporary patch to figure out what's going on. That was something on the Microsoft side. They changed everything to default instead of being more secure. So that was something that patch that they applied, I believe, it affected a lot of organizations. So temporarily what I've done is I've disabled external communications in Teams and Outlook so you don't get those messages. If you do receive those messages, please let me know so we can investigate further. So it's always something new when we think we have all these controls in place, but we want to keep up to that and stay one step ahead of these adversaries. So
I want to thank you for everything you guys do, because I'm telling you what, you've kept us from going under for the last 4 or 5 years, so thank you.
And another thing we have done now is, since we have so many different security layers, it's hard to keep up with all these threats, right? Thousands of threats a day. So what we have done is, finally, good news is we have the AI integration done. So it automatically prioritizes what we need to look at and also tells us what we need to fix right away. So instead of me sitting there for hours trying to go through all those logs and try to figure out what is going on, the AI is kind of helping us quite a bit in this system.
Anybody got any questions, Frank? Yes.
Just a point of clarification. So when you say you disable the messages, is it just calendar messages on Teams and Outlook for external messages?
It's direct external messages without your consent. So if somebody's trying to send you a direct message, that shows up, and you have the opportunity to either delete it, or there's another option which we're going to add, which it probably won't even show up in your Outlook if it's external. But it will give you a warning saying that, hey, this was malicious. So if you think that this is false positive, then let the administrator know, and then we can release it.
So will they go to quarantine first?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the point. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, is temporarily send it to quarantine and give you a daily, hourly update in your the quarantine message digest.
Okay.
So it'll tell you if you need to release it or not.
Okay.
Just reach out to us and we will help you release that. But hopefully we'll have that fixed and we will go back to normal again.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Agnell? Agnell, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Puts us item number 13, legal, Leon Parker, our Corporation Counsel. His items of information, his monthly report. Mr. Parker?
Good evening. You've got before you are numbers for the period April 14th through May 22nd. Happy to address any questions if you have any.
Anybody got any questions for legal? Looks like we don't have any, so thank you, sir. Puts us to item number 14. Police. Chris Yates has an ordinance, 14A, regulating public camping with corporate boundaries and other actions in connection there within the city of Danville, Illinois. I make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on ordinance 14A? Yes.
Is this a new ordinance? And if it is, what are we trying to accomplish out of this, or what do you want to accomplish?
Well, what we want to do is be able to have some guidelines for not only the police, but environmental inspectors, public works, and all the different departments within the city that have to deal with an incident such as what we had over at Ellsworth Park and right over the hill from the people in the 200 and 300 block of Logan.
Chief, pull your
I'm sorry.
mic down, please. Thank you.
And of Logan Avenue. This has been something that's been looked at, and we're waiting on the Illinois Municipal League to provide guidance on it based off several some rulings from the U.S. Supreme Court. Want to make it very clear, this is not criminalization. This is a civil process, identifying the legal terms, also understanding the purpose of it behind it with public health, understanding the intentions of the tort regarding different homelessness. I know that the Eighth Amendment covers it quite well as far as incarcerating a person because of their homeless status. That's not what this is. It's something where someone would come in to city court if they do show up and discuss it at a civil level. But it also gives, like I said, the different departments within the city to preserve, we can be very sensitive and compassionate towards the people that are dealing with different issues, but at the same time be sensitive and empathetic and passionate or compassionate towards those that are, whether it's a property owner or city property.
In your opinion, how big of an issue is this?
They're acute issues to where it'll pop up, and then we've got a circumstance that we need to deal with. And then on the chronic side is what I've noticed whenever I go out, and a lot of the people, I don't know them. So I think that the number is increasing, or at least more fluid, to where there's advertisement of resources. That may come across as being resources that are always available, but they're often just available temporarily. And then when people come here to look for those resources, they realize that they may be only for a short time, and then they're here, and they need to figure out a way of getting wherever they may just not have any money or use the money for something else, to where they, they're stuck here for a little bit. What this ordinance does also is it gives guidelines to force us to try to find mitigation. If you go through the different sections, we've partnered with Task, and it's not just for homelessness. It's actually started up with drug abuse at the lower levels, to where someone's needing help, not incarceration. And it's called deflection through Task, to where, and we also can use it for homelessness, and we used it last week, and where we actually reach out to different social services that can provide different mitigating responses that are offered, and if they're taken, there can be some success. But right now, it's essentially moving people from one place to another. That's not good for them nor the citizen. And like I said, we can be compassionate to people that are, having problems. And a lot of the challenges are co-challenges, such as whether it's mental health or substance abuse, to where this sort of gives us the tools and puts a responsibility on us to also try to take mitigating efforts with our social services local, as well as the ones with the state. And it provides additional resources to where the ordinance actually, it says in there that we will contact, or we shall, it doesn't say we may, we shall contact different social services and give referrals and recommendations. We, in the summer, other than outside of the health risk, if any of you went to Logan and went down the hill, right behind some of the businesses there that have been, reasonably complaining and concerned, I'll tell you, you wouldn't want to walk through there with open toe shoes or sandals. It's a health issue, and like I said, this ordinance just gives us the additional tools, clarity, and understanding of what we can do, what we should do, and what we shall do, as far as trying to mitigate the problem rather than just pushing it a block over or somewhere else.
But I think it's a problem that's not going to go away, and I just wish we had something to offer them to stay or something. And that's a concern. I mean, I've seen it, and you've seen it too. But
well, again, you asked my opinion, and maybe it's anecdotal, but I think we need to tackle this as a challenge issue that's not directly related economically. It's more, like I said, there's different challenges such as substance and co-abuses with mental health. But then whenever the byproduct of that is also public health when it comes to, like I said, some of the scenes that are left, and then who's there to clean it up. And, if you look at it, consider it, I mean, why don't we camp at Kennecott? Well, it's because there's no camping there. You have to go to Kickapoo. But the problem is, and a lot of the things, there wouldn't be the complaints if it wasn't so damaging from a public health sense.
But I think a lot of these people probably just don't have any place to go, period, and that's.
There may not be any place to go within the parameters of what they're willing to abide by, okay? I mean, there's, in the wintertime, and I can say this from several years of experience, when we had the local homeless people that we were concerned about, we would send the officers out to locate different people that we knew. Like, for instance, if one's car wasn't running or inoperable, then there was a heat problem. So then we would try to find vouchers or get local donations for a hotel room, and trying to get different people to stay even in a hotel room to where they can go in and out is very difficult. That's why I say it's not necessarily an economical issue. It's multifaceted and very complex, to where I don't have the solution for that.
Oh, I know.
But I think by passing an ordinance like many cities in Illinois and across the nation are doing, especially since it's gone all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court in I think early 24, that, like I said, I don't agree with criminalization of it. That's why we're keeping it at ordinance level and a city civil issue.
But you still got finable tickets, apparently. You're probably
Yeah,
gonna
but there's also, if you look through the tickets, there's other alternatives to that. Okay. It's never going to be it's never, I don't care what it is, it's never the goal or the objective to either fine, arrest, or anything like that. Whether we're dealing with civil or criminal, it's always the goal to mitigate and to find a solution to a challenge. Hopefully this will give us some of the tools. It's not a cure-all, and it's not going to take care of the problem, but it's going to outline some definitions, and also understanding, what's property, what's the reasonable level of preservation of personal property versus exempted personal property, such as people say, well, what's exempted personal property? Best I can recall is we wondered what was in this bag, and it was, that's my property. Well, it was a dead duck, and it had been there for like 4 or 5 weeks, and it was present during the journey. Well, that's not necessarily a good thing, and that doesn't have a dollar value to it, for whatever, from different perceptions. So.
Well, I agree with everything you're saying. It's a concern.
Yeah. When you look at it, let me pull the ordinance up. I'm sorry, I have my iPad not here. But it goes into once it goes into past definitions and past public, talks about the exceptions to the prohibition, which can be ruled. It's not, say if there is something happened, catastrophic that happened, okay, and it was in the intent of council to say, well, that's not what this ordinance is for. Obviously there's exemptions there. There's also, when it goes into disposition and release of personal property, it requires us to safeguard personal property for so many days until a person can collect it back and find alternative means. Because before, we didn't really know, well, how long do we need to keep this? Is it like abandoned property where we keep it and then toss it after a certain amount of time? And then the penalty, and if you notice, it says mitigation, okay? I think that the mitigation is the part that's key as far as us trying to figure out what's a solution, maybe not a long-term, but a short-term solution to possibly edge a person in a different direction to where they can get help. Such when I talk about deflection with task, we can go somewhere, and whether it's drugs or something that someone obviously shouldn't be arrested, it's not going to help them to be arrested and then released, okay? This group will actually come out, find the people that are in the challenge, try to do an assessment on what they need to help them to go in a positive direction. Now, there has to be a buy-in, of course, but they're much better suited than the police department. They're much better suited than the fire department, Public Works. They work with the local social services as well as the connections and networking they have throughout the state. It may be something as simple as, Johnny's homeless, and he's homeless in Danville, but Johnny doesn't live in Danville. Johnny lives in Des Moines, okay? But he took a bus here, and he just doesn't have any money. And he'd like to get back to Des Moines where he has family and other structural resources. Well, they can help that person get to that location and also do it safely rather than have to rely on maybe someone picking them up on the interstate. And we also got to remember that people that suffer from mental health, people that suffer from some substance abuse, and people that are homeless are very vulnerable to be victims of crimes as well. So that's why all those things, all the above, is why we're looking at this ordinance.
Vice Mayor, I'm sorry, Ms. Teague.
So is there a bigger plan that this is a piece of, or is this on its own, or is this the first step in a bigger process?
Yeah, like I said, this isn't a solution, this is a tool.
Right.
I think what we've done over the last 5 and 6 years is that we've really built good rapport and relationships and working relationships with our social services, whether it's Cross Point with the Y, the different shelters, the different step recovery, all those different things. When we call one of those places, we're not saying, can I talk to somebody who deals with this? I'm saying, hey, can I talk to so-and-so? Or can I talk to so-and-so? I need your help on this situation. So that's one of the, with those relationships as well as working with Task and this different state resources, that right now is all we have. It's great that we got the homeless shelter back up and going, but again, these ordinance, sometimes it's a hard step to get that person to go from, complete, whatever I want out here to even the restrictions or the rules of a homeless shelter. So sometimes this actually gives them that little incentive or escort to that, because again, we shall attempt to make mitigated responses and resource introductions.
Have the different agencies that the department has dealt with in attempting to mitigate these concerns, have they provided their feedback or been given an opportunity to see the ordinance prior to now?
No. At the state level?
No, I'm saying locally.
Local. There's a different lens and a different responsibility to where, we could, obviously we're going to discuss with them how this ordinance will affect the communication and the requirements and needs. However, like I said, there's different approaches because of different responsibilities and burden of responsibilities.
You spoke to earlier an organization or a group. I believe it's an acronym, TASK.
TASK. I'm sorry, I don't have the.
Is that an local organization? Is that a statewide?
It's state funded through grants through the cannabis, but believe it or not, through the cannabis tax, I believe.
Okay. And then you said that they would do assessments and whatnot. So I guess my question is, who exactly would be doing these assessments, and are those resources in place now?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes.
So so then who are they? Is it the local agencies? Is it another organization from outside of the community that does these assessments?
Outside of the community, they've actually are growing. It's relatively new. We started utilizing them as a resource. I believe our conversation started last summer, And Illinois State Police, actually, we were introduced through the local narcotics unit. And then I would say that we wanted to be up and running by April 1. And I think that's when we started.
Of this year?
Yes. Okay. And so it's somewhere on or about April 1st. And we were pleased. I got a hold of Quincy, Illinois, because they had told me that they were active in Quincy, Illinois. So I contacted Chief over there, and he said that, you know, that they have a pretty good partnership with them. So it gave me a little bit of confidence knowing that there's a, you know, reference point. But that's just one. They're the ones that have a little bit more resources as far as getting people home, coming up with some type of action plan that they can follow through. Not that and the local places have it too, but I don't think anybody is saying, no, we have plenty of resources, we don't need anybody else. So I think it's a very good collaborative effort amongst all the social services, but there are some things that we need to continue to work on and improve about.
Okay. I have some concerns. I think the biggest concern is the fines and the escalation of the fines. You know, it's doubling, in some instances doubling, in other instances it's more than doubling of the fines in a 24-month period.
That is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I think one of the other concerns that I have is that it doesn't feel like we have, if this were a piece of a much bigger plan and objective and said, okay, you know, we're providing these services, and then if you don't take advantage of these other services, then this is what happens to you. I think for me, it would feel like it made sense because it would feel like a bigger part of the puzzle. I think one of the concerns, and I'm glad you said this, like this is not about criminalizing homelessness. One of the other concerns that I do have is that incarceration is a potential remedy under 10H. So that's one of the concerns I have. The escalations of fines is another big concern I have, especially knowing that they could go up to $750. For people who are unhoused, if you can't afford to pay rent, I don't see how you could afford $750 fine. And I get that it's not the first offense. It would be the fifth violation that would lead up to that. But after that, then, you know, there's the possibility of incarceration under F and also under H. And those are particularly concerning to me. And I think one of the other things, because I looked at the case of the other city in Oregon, I think it's, I gotta find the
Johnson?
name. Yeah, that's the name of the case, but that's not the name of the town. Grants Pass. And in one of the things that I saw in Grants Pass that led to this case was, it wasn't just that they were made it a civil penalty for camping, but they also provided specific locations for them to go. And one of the concerns that I have is, and let me back up and say this, I agree that things that are public health issues should be addressed. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't address these things. And I feel like it's a catch-22. Like, I feel like we have to deal with public safety and we have to deal with concerns, but then where are we providing for them to go? Because we know that the shelter that just reopened can only accommodate so many people. And in Grants Pass, they actually provided them with specific locations where they could go. And I'm not seeing that we're doing that. And it seemed to me like their efforts were part of a bigger, and I took a very cursory look, so it might not be the case, but it seemed like it was a part of a bigger strategy. And part of the strategy was saying, okay, you cannot camp in any park, but you can camp in, originally it was 2 locations, in this place or this place. And then, and in a case that just got taken up again this year, they took away one of the places. So there's a new case currently concerning one of the locations, and it has to do with people with disabilities. But they did provide them a location. And so my concern is, okay, well, if we're saying you can't camp in parks and you can't camp under a bridge and you can't camp in any public property, well, then that basically just leads to people potentially trespassing in non-public properties. And so I think that's the part that gives me pause. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't address it, because we should. I just feel like we are possibly, and I know this is not your objective, but we are quite possibly potentially fining people and potentially incarcerating people for being homeless without having put enough other infrastructure in place at the same time that we're doing this. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do this. It just seems to me like there needs to be a bigger strategic objective, and I don't know what that is. And I get that the police department is doing its part to make sure that we provide access to other services, make other referrals, and do all of those things. But all of those things feel like Band-Aids on the problem and not really addressing the overall problem from a strategic perspective. And if you put this on top of that without some other mitigating activities at the same time, I'm wondering what the outcome is going to be.
I think what we are actually looking at is we're putting this ordinance underneath all, and not to, not with semantics or anything, but we're putting this underneath because this creates that initial step to force not only us, but make it to increase that burden on us and other services to make sure that we are trying to take the necessary steps to correct the problem. Because now we've got the ordinance, and like you say, now what? The problem is that almost I would say it'd be hard to find any private property that is not connected to public property. And this ordinance is one, it like I said, it lays the burden onto law enforcement, city departments to do a certain thing to help this person and mitigate this person, gives us the guideline, at least a toolbox to start putting tools in. But it protects the citizens that we also have to be compassionate for, because every one of these public properties that we've had problems is attached to the private property that, Jim and Mary or whoever puts all their life savings into their business or their home. And then, we have to remember them too. But I think this puts that initial start of saying, okay, we've got an ordinance. Now we need to build from here, because, and I'll let legal go a little further on this, but that incarceration part, that's in there, but I don't even see how an incarceration from a city ordinance violation with the pretrial release is even possible. Okay, so if that's the only thing that is in there that is concerning, I'd be more than happy to see that. I'll let legal explain that, but that isn't a reality.
I have a follow-up question. Do you know the number of tents or people that were removed from Ellsworth?
I believe there was. It's hard to tell because it's not really definitive. Like, this is a campground. I mean, there was. If you saw the WCIA footage,
I did. I don't watch the news.
Might want to look at it, and because they did a pretty good job of showing what brought the attention to us and to the city in the first place. But I would say that there was possibly 3, but I can't say that for sure because it's not really what you'd see a structured, tent. Here's my fire. Here's my garbage bag hanging in a tree. Everything. It looked like it was. It looked like someone picked up the garbage in one city block and then spread it all over the ground. And that's it's just it can't.
Well, less than 2 weeks ago, when I had my neighborhood group association meeting out of Oakwood Avenue, there's a gentleman, and they were back behind his house down to the river, and there was probably 8 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
And when it got, I was that evening pulling up the signs for the neighborhood group meeting. There was 2 or 3 of them walking with backpacks and flashlights because something happened to the camp that they were in.
Mm-hmm.
So they were moving. I would imagine some of them probably went down to Ellsworth Park. So, but
Yeah.
there was 8 or 10 out in the one in Oakwood Avenue. Yes, Doug.
Recognizing this is to address city-owned properties, and recognizing this problem has gotten worse. It's not a new problem, but it has gotten worse. But one of our experiences was they simply moved on to the private property of a property owner who would not respond to the city. Is there any way this ordinance could be expanded that if it is on unauthorized use of private property, it could also apply?
That'd be a legal question.
Well, there's a lot of different issues that have been brought up here tonight. Let me come back around to that. With regard to the penalties, because that's been a topic that's been brought up. If you look at Section 10, it's penalty and mitigation. And I think, as the chief pointed out, I think it'd be hard to have, and the incarceration, possible incarceration, doesn't even come up until after your 6th offense. And I think with the current situation, I don't think anybody would be held incarcerated and not be released OR for an offense like this, especially an ordinance violation. But if you look further down in paragraph I, any penalty, including incarceration, can be mitigated by the removal of their personal property and cleaning up what they had left there. And in this situation, it wasn't just garbage. It was hypodermic needles and other unsanitary conditions. And I would add that the tort immunity statute, the city has an obligation to a duty to exercise ordinary care to maintain its property, and would not be liable for someone being injured on that property unless, having notice of that problem, didn't do anything about it. So I think we have a duty to address that matter. This is a public camping ordinance, and it's directly related to homelessness because that's what we're addressing. Those are the individuals that we're dealing with here on city property. And if you can, when you read this ordinance, there's a lot of information in here. A lot of it comes from various research and the U.S. Supreme Court case that was brought up earlier, Johnson v. Grant Pass, Oregon. It's going to be a community effort. It's a public health issue. We're going to have to get various social services involved. There's mental health issues that the city can't alone address these issues. As you see from the research, homeless individuals suffer higher mortality rates, overuse of emergency services. Their homelessness, being without shelter, can exacerbate existing conditions they may have, like diabetes or hepatitis C. So all these things factor into finding them shelter and resources. And the chief has pointed out different situations where it might just be a bus ticket. It might be some other assistance to help them out that the city alone can't address. But getting back to Alderman Orange, your question, maybe. Okay, it seems like on private property, that would be a trespass issue that would have to be directed towards law enforcement. So someone allowing someone to stay on their own private property, I don't think we can come and tell somebody they can't do that unless there's crimes being committed or some other health and safety issues, then possibly, yes. But certainly this addresses the city property that we have a duty to address. And the conditions as described out in Ellsworth were such, we had a duty and we had to address that.
Yeah, and I'm not disputing that. I've seen similar and seen worse.
I think
it does need to go away. The problem that we had was the landlord, the property owner, would not pursue trespassing against them because they were in dispute with code enforcement, so they weren't going to do anything to help the city. And so the location changed, but the conditions did not, and the neighbors had to continue to live with the circumstances.
then I believe that you do not, then that person, the people that are staying there are less relevant, and the person that's allowing it, and you tackle it from a public health direction and hold that property owner responsible for it.
And that's good as long as it doesn't take 6 months.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions?
Tough situation. It's very tough.
Yes, Ms. Teague?
I was just going to ask, Chief, can you email us or share with us any information on task that you brought up earlier?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this ordinance? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Ludwig,
Yes.
Alderman Jones,
Yes.
Arns,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Teague,
No.
Streebing,
Yes.
6 yes.
Yes, thank you. Puts item 14B, you have a resolution authorizing acceptance of a donation and amending FY 2025 through 2026 Police Department budget number 21, specifically Fund 620, Friendly Town Preservation Fund. I'll make the motion to approve, dispense with the reading, and ask for approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 14B resolution? Not roll call, please.
Alderman Jones,
Yes.
Arns,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
7 yes.
Yes, thank you. Puts us to 14C, item of information, and C1 is April 2025 offense data report. Chief?
Yes, did everybody have an opportunity to take a look at, they're always running a month behind. Try to do the month from the last 3 years, including the current, as well as year-to-date. Put on my glasses so I can see. Variation from 2024, and this is just January to April. We're seeing the trends going the way we want them to. Again, we need to make it through 2025 before I get too excited on anything. I'm happy with them.
Anybody got questions on any of the parts that he sent? Chief, you had something else?
Yeah, we've got 5 new officer candidates at Police Training Institute, U of I. So far, they took their first test. They all did very well, well over the class average. We were very happy with the selections this last time. We also swore in, I think, 5 new auxiliary police officers. This is the first group that we've had for a long time. We had to build the curriculum and then get it approved through the state. And the men and women that we have in the auxiliary police department, lots of times they go unnoticed, but they're very much appreciated, especially at a lot of the churches and different shows, or parking, assisting in parking and directing traffic for a lot of our downtown parades and stuff like that. They never work just solely by themselves. They're usually in addition to regular sworn officers. But I surely appreciate everything that they do. And I was very proud to bring on some more people that, I mean, they're volunteering their time after they get off work. And it's pretty impressive in today's world. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Chief. Puts us to item 15, Treasurer's Report. Chris Herron, Treasurer, he's not here this evening, so you'll see 15 days of September, October 2024 Treasury Report and bank reconciliation. And the items of information, I think Ms. Sweeten hit it pretty good in her report, that we come out from under the trenches and we got everything taken care of. So he's not here this evening because his son, I believe, was graduating from boot camp as a Marine. So, but he'll have, if you got questions for him, he'll get back with you. There's no need for item 16, closed section. Items of information. If you didn't see it, today's paper, and I know that it's going to be open soon, the ballpark out on 9th Street. All the city's work is not completed yet, but almost done. We got a grant for that, and it's from what I see in the paper, it looks real good. So. Any member comments from the committee? Yes.
Well, I think we need to send our condolences to Bob Iverson and his family for the death of Bob Iverson. And I think, if I've got it right, Thursday is the visitations at sunset, and the funeral is Friday at the First Press at 10 a.m.
Yes. Anybody else?
I just have one thing. Sorry, Alderman, you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. The pool is open, so they open Memorial Day, so make sure you go out there and show support, and they are still selling season passes for a couple more weeks, so if we can convince anybody to buy season passes and get them out to the pool, that'd be great.
Yes, Doug?
My only comment was kudos to Chief and his group that put together the Friendly Town project, and what a way to top that off with the anonymous donor. So thanks to that generous soul, whoever they are.
You know, and I've talked about this before. With that grant that came from Illinois, you know, the grant that we got from the state with Senator Bennett, and then finished off with Senator Faraci. You know, my passion was with the training center, but then whenever I started seeing the community support and energy behind Friendly Town, I was blown away. And I'll be honest, I spend way too much time out there on my time off. And a group came through, and someone said, you know what, this is the only thing that needs redone here. And now, if I can, we'll get it done. I'll just put it that way. And Logan, I reached out to Logan, Joe Claypool, and Dave Rue, and I said, let's help me get this done, and they stepped up, and we're working on it. So.
Very good.
All right. Having fulfilled everything on the agenda, I'll need a motion and a second for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.